All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. It is Friday. If you have kids, it might be leading into spring break. We're heading out tomorrow, and nothing more fun than trying to go on a trip, and then craziness ensues at a macro level. But before I kind of skip off, we wanted to talk about this. It's with our clients at GrowthHit. We're having conversations on a daily, hourly basis with our brand Neat. We went very deep on it this week. We're putting people on planes to Vietnam to look at manufacturing options. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about this and how we're approaching it. So for all the other people out there that are being impacted by tariffs, hopefully this will be helpful to get something from it to help drive your strategy. And a person on my team kind of reminded me of this quote, which is never let a good tragedy or a crisis go to waste. And so with that in mind, how we can kind of invert this and make this an opportunity, right? Let's not waste this tariff crisis. Where is the opportunity in all of this? Let's dive in. So at a high level, where are we at? So what is today? April 11th, 2025. There was reciprocal tariffs going on. We're now at a 90-day pause, which is a little bit of a breathing room. The stock market has reacted, and so we can kind of breathe for a second, but it's really time to take action and figure out the plan, right? And for me, I'm all about making or not making decision by indecision. I've done that in the past, and it is not something that usually ends up very well. So how we can strengthen, not stall, and and this is an opportunity to actually take market share and do some things. So I want to be very real. Like, yes, the pressure is very real. We were talking about really scaling things. We had our best month ever, and this hits with our brand Neat, right? So what are the things that are on the table? It's like, oh, we want to make that higher. Are we going to pause that? Supply chain volatility. We're about to make a huge order. What do we do there? The rising acquisition costs. It's changing how much we can order, and it's impacting, what we can charge. We'll get into consumer sentiment as well. Another thing where for small brands out there that are kind of freaking out, you actually have a little bit more of an advantage than bigger brands from a fixed versus variable cost perspective, right? As you look at your fixed overhead, that's really hard to kind of flex up and down from your warehouse lease to full-time staff. That can be tough. Is this a time where you try and go more variable with 3PLs, freelancers, agencies, even working through rev share models? We've been doing that with clients ourselves. For me, here's what kills me the most, though, is the uncertainty. Because when I don't know what's going to happen, it's really hard to make strategic decisions, right? Investments in inventory and marketing and roles, strategic planning. We had big goals for this summer and for Q4. Those might be pulled back a little bit. And so where our meetings were a little bit more exciting, they're a little more fear-based. So growth-based, now fear-based. So the last thing that I'm thinking through on this is, who else this impacts? Obviously, it impacts brands. It's impacting our clients at Neat. It's impacting Neat itself, or our clients at GrowthHit. It's impacting retailers with low inventory confidence. And the other one that I'm really interested to see is the consumer sentiment, right? Across a lot of our clients, we're seeing sales are just kind of down as people are more interested in following the news rather than trying to make purchasing decisions, right? And especially if prices are about to go up. So that was a little doomsday for you. So what's your move? So what I want to hit on is like 4 things to think about and how to navigate tariffs over these next 90 days and what we're doing with clients and with our own brand. So the first thing is know your new numbers. These numbers are going to change. We know that for sure, but really start to understand what are the new numbers and how that impacts your growth story. Second, look at your positioning, your messaging as a brand, and does that align with the current mindset of the client, right? If we're talking about, vacationing in San Tropez and finding the perfect outfit, does that meet them where they're at, where they're worried about the price of eggs or blueberries? And then finally, marketing tactics where you can play offense, not defense right now. Where's the gift in all of this? And so there's two things I want to hit on from a mindset perspective before we get into those four things. The first one I kind of teased is how you can be proactive and really start to think through different scenarios and what you're going to do, right? The second, third order effects of this. Because I think that's where these brands will be made in this time, is really thinking through those scenarios. And that happens by being proactive. The other thing is, where's there a gift in this? It might be hard, but can you stretch to find that silver lining? It's like, well, we're actually wanting to move manufacturing. Oh, we're actually wanting to get leaner with how we run things. Oh, we wanted to do pricing experiments. So this is a real quick forcing function for that, right? Smart brands use downturns to strengthen brand operations and even margins over the long haul. Okay, so the first one, when we're talking about knowing your new numbers, we're talking margins. And one thing that I would hit on is we find higher margin SKUs. What are the tools in your toolkit that you're able to do as a brand right now? From your profitable scaling margin, your PSM calculator, we'll talk about in a second. What products are high margin? What bundles should you start creating now? Do you need to cut some of the lower margin items and not push those as much, because it doesn't work for the unit economics of your business? I want to put a little light on PSM, the profitable scaling margin formula. And that formula, I'll put it up here actually. Where did I put it? It's essentially your lifetime value divided by COGS, your cost of goods sold, plus your cost per acquisition, your cost to acquire somebody. And so what I did is I took the normal PSM, profitable scaling margin formula here, and I added it with tariffs. So basically, you need this to be over 1 for it to have a healthy business. And so I gave a scenario. Let's act like with the average purchase is $89, and if our COGS is 33, CPA is 40. We have a 1.2 profitable scaling margin. That's great. It's over 1. We can scale. But if all of a sudden we add in tariffs, let's say it's $21, we're below 1. That means we are not first purchase profitable. We are losing money on that purchase. But the question to ask yourself, if you have a high repeat purchase product like subscription supplements, or you're doing fast fashion, if it's consumables, you probably have a nice lifetime value. But you need to ask yourself, what's your risk tolerance? Are you willing to look at 90 days, or do you want to look at 12 months? And so if you're going 90 days, even with tariffs, hey, it still works. It works in both these scenarios. But now is the time to really know your numbers and the growth you can afford right now, and what products you can scale, what personas you can go after to scale. So that's number one. Know your numbers. This is a great way to reinforce the PSM, profitable scaling margin. Okay, as we know the numbers, the other thing that you want to think through is, you have fixed costs and variable costs. Some are easier to manipulate than others, right? We mentioned with some of the variable costs, can you switch from full-time to agencies, to freelancers, to contractors, from the warehouse to the 3PLs? Can you start to negotiate with partners to do rev share, more variable compensation, right? I think a lot of people will be empathetic. A lot of partners will be empathetic to where you're at right now. Even at GrowthHit, we're happy to have those conversations. Okay. As you're dialing in your numbers, you're looking at your PSM, you're looking at your fixed versus variable costs. Now let's go on the product and consumer facing side, your messaging. Again, we need to read the room, right? You walk into the room, people aren't super fired up right now. They're thinking about other things. Your messaging needs to align with that. So if you have the ability with products where you can position them in different ways, it's all about value right now. Instead of being a nice to have, how can you be a must have? How can you be an essential product? That means you're leaning into quality, durability, multiple use cases, getting the ROI on a product, right? Focusing on outcomes over features. So that's something that I'm thinking through. Another one is, this might not be right for all brands, but you can do a little bit of scarcity if you still have products at the pre-tariff price to do a marketing moment. That won't be on brand for a lot of companies, but some companies, it's a great way to maximize value in the short term. I'm talking to other marketers where they're like, hey, Can we make this the new Black Friday, right? But with tariffs. And so doing different marketing moments around this. A lot of people are leaning into pre-orders to try and test the demand to really see what they should order into. And if you have a warm audience that hasn't been reactivated, that's something to go after. Another one I wanted to hit on with this third category after messaging, which is marketing and tactic testing. This is the big one that most of our clients are talking about, which is price experiments. How do we pass through these tariff prices? Do we just take the hit? Do we share the price? Do we pass or the lift? Do we share all of it with the consumer? Those are decisions to be made. What I'm showing here is a screenshot. I believe this is Fabletics. They're putting like the tariff surcharge right here. Other brands, they're not talking about it at all. They're raising their price where they're splitting half the cost. But what I would say is rather than making sudden changes, I would test into this. You can use tools like Convert, VWO. You can use Shoplift. There's lots of great tools out there. So for us, we're looking at our free shipping threshold. Do we need to push that back? We're looking at the free gift with purchase. We're looking at testing minimum quantities and bundles to work this into our website. So right now with Neat, we're updating our bundles. We're updating those thresholds. We're actually looking at, instead of doing discounts, doing a gift with purchase. So there's lots of different levers you can play with. But the main thing I would say is this could be a great time to start to build that muscle of testing offers, testing prices. And there's lots of stuff to be done there. Another one, scarcity is definitely a strategy here, whether you can be deadline-based or pre-tariff price-based, creating a little bit of urgency. Again, this could be a turnoff for some, but some brands, this could make sense. But again, just to kind of reinforce where my head is at, where's the gift in this, right? Is this a forcing function for you to renegotiate? Is this a forcing function to build the muscle of testing and learning? Is this a forcing function to really dial in your numbers and run those scenarios based on how the tariffs land? You know what to do. But I hope this was somewhat helpful in this time where it's a little bit uncertain, to give you a few tools in your tool belt that you could potentially deploy. We'll have more updates on this. We'll be sharing what we're doing with Neat as we're navigating all of this, and people are on planes across the world figuring out what we're going to do. But more to come. I know today's one was short, but wanted to hit on something that was hopefully relevant and helpful. But hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you.